As I was opening the church doors early this morning, I thought to myself, Christmas is just 3 weeks away as we gather on this second Sunday of Advent. And I asked myself, am I opening hearts and lives of God's people to listen, to heed, and to hear through the corridors of time Isaiah, Peter, and John the Baptist. The 6th century prophet Isaiah, in his second book of Isaiah 40 to 55, is called the book of consolation, the book of comfort. When Israel is in exile, it wasn't a pleasant time or an easy time. It was a struggling time, a difficult time. A time of distance felt from God. And God woos them like a good shepherd caring for the sheep. And he says, comfort my people, comfort them. Bring them hope, so that the mountains of their pride and their arrogance, that their mountains of their self-will and unbelief, that the valleys of their indifference and despondency and their feelings of inferiority would be leveled. And know that I am a God who is not accusing them of judging them, but a God who comforts them. A God who understands that we're bruised and beaten by sin. A God who wants to take us to his bosom and bring us comfort and relief and tenderness. Because sin divides, it separates, it destroys. And Isaiah says that when this Messiah comes, he'll bring deliverance for everyone. Such is the hope of the prophet. Today's second reading, we hear from Peter. Peter says that when he comes, there'll be a new heavens and there'll be a new earth. And we'll have cleared the way of the Lord from the debris within us, so that we'll be humble servants who bring justice to others, who live in the radiant truth, and who are harbingers of peace to a world shattered by sin. And he says that he doesn't wish to punish any of us. He doesn't want anyone to perish. He doesn't want anyone to be forlorn or forsaken in this sinful humanity. But he wants to reach out so that none are lost and that all are saved and all know God's love. And he said, then there will be a new heavens and a new earth, because we will have opened our heart to a new beginning of a God who longs for us, a God who yearns for us, a God who wants us more intimately than anything in the universe. And Peter even says, one day on earth is like 1,000 in eternity, because to live in God's presence is a forever presence. And then we hear the call of John the Baptist, who tells us to prepare the way of the Lord, unclutter our lives, the roadblocks in our hearts, the obstacles in our discipleship, the vices that entangle us, the clutteredness of the baggages that we carry that can make life more burdensome, more painful, more despairing. And he says these come through our crookedness, our strands of dishonesty, our cheating, our deceitfulness, and all these ways. We don't make straight the path of the Lord. Actually, we impede the Lord's progress. The Lord can't come to us because we're dodging him. And John the Baptist says, ready the way of the Lord. This wild, aesthetic prophet, he tells us that we must take a second look at our lives. Take stock, recollect, be renewed. Prepare the way of the Lord through the passageways of your own choices, your own lifestyle. Have we hardened our heart to life, to others? Has the beatenness of the brokenness of sin harmed us from forgiveness? It was important, friends, for the Jewish people that when they submitted to the baptism of John the Baptist, three things were to happen. Number one, they were first to admit to themselves that they were a sinner. That this guilt and this shame and this pain could no longer bring them progress to spiritual vitality. And they had to admit to themselves, first of all, that they themselves were a sinner. In order to deactivate the power of the stranglehold of sin and death, to activate a power of forgiveness, renewal, recommitment of a new heaven and a new earth in your heart, you had to first admit that you were a sinner. Surrender to that. Submit to that. Yield to that. That you need salvation. You can't save yourself. You need God's help. You need God's grace. The second thing, because you're a sinner, you wrong other people. You hurt people. You lie to people. You cheat to people. You injure people. You wrong people. That's one of the steps of AA, to make a confession that you've wronged others because of your darkness. Whatever that darkness might be, I've hurt you. Oh, oftentimes we want to go straight to God and we bypass the human person. No, not according to John's prescription of true repentance. You've got to go to the person that you've offended. Not an easy step, but a necessary one. And even if they won't offer you forgiveness, you have to offer anyway, John says. The people who wrong us. It's easy to keep them in a ditch or on a gully. But to make a pathway toward them is the work of grace. The third prong of John's repentance of his baptism is you have to admit to God that you are a sinner. Not only to yourselves, not only to others that you wrong, but to God himself. Because when you say to God, I am a sinner, guess what God can say to you? I forgive you. He can't forgive you until you first admit you're a sinner. It takes being level. It takes being humble. It takes what he can do. He can bulldoze right over humanity over 2,000 years and break up the hardness of the humanity's pavement that we are on. And he can break and shatter us all with his grace. I got a haircut the other day and I was pulling on to Grand Avenue in Nevillewood. And most of you are very familiar that the cops are out everywhere there, huh? They're pocketed everywhere. So you've got to go 25 if you want to make it without a ticket, huh? And so a bulldozer pulled in front of me. And you know, the lights are flashing and it's going slower. And it's so easy just to go whip around and hit the accelerator. But I just said, you know, Lord, I'm just going to slow. I'm going to go slow. And I'm going to go slower than 25 on Grand Avenue today. And I'm going to follow this bulldozer. Because the readings this Sunday are about being bulldozed to make a new pathway for God. A bulldozer doesn't go around, it goes through. And like a bulldozer, God works through the brokenness of humanity, and he bulldozes us over to the awareness that we need him. We need his Spirit, we need his faith, and we need his grace to be his disciples. Whether we lived in the 6th century before Christ and Isaiah, and we heard the call to prepare a highway for the Lord, or whether we live in the early 1st century of Peter, and said the Lord wants a new heaven and a new earth in our path that we prepare, or whether we were the last of the Old Testament prophets and the first of the New Testament prophets, John the Baptist, who prepared the way of the Lord. John said, I'm not the center stage, no. I'm just telling you, the only way you'll see God's glory is by preparing by repentance and the forgiveness of your sin. And once you listen to that call of forgiveness, you'll want to be forgiven. And you'll lead others to the path of holiness. But sometimes we're just like a single voice in a world of a wilderness. Unlistening hearts, unlistening people. But once we turn from sin, we have a whole new freedom. We have a whole new peace, and we have a whole new life. Repentance isn't the work of a season. Conversion is the work of a lifetime. The Lord needs to sometimes purify us, cleanse us, and to forgive us so that we can prepare His coming. For He only comes through the roads we prepare for. And when our heart is prepared, we bring a lot to see God's glory. St. Louis de Montfort said, by Jesus Christ, with Jesus Christ, and in Jesus Christ, we can do some marvelous things.